Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in. And as we all know, the biggest question of the offseason for the Bears has been answered, and the Justin Fields era in Chicago is now over, as the Bears have traded him to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a conditional 6th-round pick that can turn into a 4th-round pick in the 2025 draft. It is time to do a bit of a look back on Justin Fields' 3 seasons with the Chicago Bears and see why his career as a Chicago Bear just did not work. So let's just talk about that. Without further ado, let's dive into it. Today's video is brought to you by Cellular C4. This is a product that I personally used before I even decided to partner with them. And the first thing I got introduced to was the energy drinks by C4. This right here is a fruit punch flavor. They have many other flavors. They have popsicle flavors that just dropped. They have Skittles, Starburst, all the type of flavors that you want. To help you get started with your day, you can wake up in the morning before you start your day and drink you one of those. And also before you get that workout in, when it's workout day, you can take you some pre-workout to help you get the boost in your workout. All the products, 0 sugar, low calories. This is a great product to take you in your workouts and your journey on fitness to the next level. And I am happy to partner with a product that I was already using in my own personal life. And I will leave my code in the description below to save you guys 20% on your first purchase of C4 of their workouts. They even have muscle recovery to help boost after workouts. They have so many supplements and things to help you on your fitness journey. And you can get yours today in the description below. Click the link and use my code APW Sports to help you save 20%. And again, the links are in the description below, and use the code APW Sports to save you 20% on your purchase. Now, it is time to get back into the video. Just to give a bit of a background on Fields, Fields started his college career at Georgia in 2018 with 328 yards and 4 TDs and no interceptions, but he ended up transferring to The Ohio State University in 2019, where he really started to come onto his own and make a name for himself, throwing for 3,273 yards, 41 touchdowns to only 3 picks, with 484 rushing yards and 10 more touchdowns on the ground, which helped him finish 3rd in the Heisman Trophy voting. And then in 2020, in the shortened season with the Big Ten, he threw for 2,100 yards, 22 TDs, but 6 interceptions. But he added 383 yards on the ground with 5 more touchdowns, and he finished 7th in the Heisman Trophy voting. The Bears ended up in the 2021 draft, moving up from the number 20 overall pick and traded to number 11th overall. In the trade, the Bears received the number 11 overall pick, which turned out to be Fields, which they sent the Giants 20 overall, 164 overall, a 2022 first, and a 2022 fourth. Now, you're talking about the Bears team that had give up a good amount of things to get Justin Fields. Now, starting off with this rookie year in 2021 with head coach Matt Nagy, he was relegated to the bench for the earlier part of the season until later on he was named the starter. During his 2021 rookie campaign, he threw for 1,870 yards, 7 touchdowns, but 10 interceptions. He added 420 yards on the ground to 2 more touchdowns on the ground with a completion percentage of 58.9. Then in 2022, Matt Nagy was relieved of his duties as well as general manager Ryan Pace, and then the Bears brought in Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus as head coach, and as well as they have new offensive coordinator Luke Getsy to lead the offense. And in 2022, the Bears seen their worst record in franchise history, but Justin Fields put up 2,242 yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions with the 60.4% completion percentage, with adding the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to rush for over 1,000 yards when he rushed for 1,143 yards and 8 touchdowns. And can you believe this? Justin Fields was actually a top 10 vote in MVP race, which he ended up finishing 9th in the MVP voting in 2022. Then in 2023, the expectations of the Bears was to be better. The expectations of Fields was to perform better. And to a degree, you can say that Justin Fields had a better year with him throwing for 2,562 yards and 16 touchdowns, and he got the interceptions down to 9. Despite him missing 4 games, he had a 61.4 completion percentage, and on the ground he added 657 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, the stat sheet is going to tell you that the Bears struggled, and that is going to be absolutely correct. The Bears struggled. Fields has some struggles as well. We are not want to absolve him of any blame of why the Bears and Justin Fields' time together did not work. Now, there are a bunch of reasons that Fields and the Bears in his 3 years in Chicago necessarily did not bring on success. Obviously, we're going to talk about his play. Now, one thing that I personally criticized about Justin Fields was the fact of he had a tendency to hold on to the football just a little bit too long, and that was something I personally saw in him when he was coming out of Ohio State. If you guys don't know, and if you're new to the channel, yes, I am an Ohio State fan, so I was able to watch every single last one of his college games. And one thing that he had a problem with at Ohio State was his ability to hold the football just a bit too long, and that translated at points to his NFL career with the Bears, was that he held the football just a bit too long in the pocket, which led to sacks, which led to missed reads, which led to different types of mistakes in an offense. Now, one thing about holding the ball too long, he did, on the other side of that, make some plays with his legs when things necessarily weren't working down the field, when he necessarily didn't see receivers, or when the pressure was on him. He did make spectacular things happen with his legs as far as the running game goes, and his 4.4 speed, being 6'3", 230 at the quarterback position. I think a deeper reason to why his time in Chicago did not work was the handling of the Bears in that 2021 offseason. And I compared that a bit to the things that happened at Mitchell Trubisky during the 2017 offseason. And I did make a video similar to this one about Mitchell Trubisky's time in Chicago. I will leave that in the cards and as well as the description below. But when you look back at that 2021 offseason, things were not handled necessarily correctly, and this is why. The Bears were coming off of a 2020 season where Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky had struggles at the quarterback position. The team ended up still finishing 8-8, and the team still, by the added 7th seed, ended up making the playoffs, which I personally think the Bears making the playoffs in that year, even though despite them getting bounced in the first round 21-9 to the New Orleans Saints, I think that kept that coaching staff and that kept Ryan Pace's job intact for another year. And my personal belief is that coming into that offseason, when you seen evidence that Matt Nagy's system necessarily did not work, Matt Nagy's play calling necessarily did not work, it would have been best, just like the Mitchell Trubisky situation, if you had let go of the head coach, which is Matt Nagy. The reason I say this is that you having a head coach who, number one, is not going to properly develop a quarterback because his job is on the line. So when you're in the realms of developing a quarterback, wins are not going to necessarily matter to that young quarterback when he's developing as it would to any other quarterback when you're trying to win football games. Because teams 9 times out of 10, when you're in a bad situation or the head coach, some of the things look like it didn't work like it did in Chicago during that period, usually the younger quarterbacks are turning into a situation that is not really a lot there. They maybe add some pieces here and there, and they try to develop that young quarterback with the brand new system and build things around them. The problem with them holding on to Matt Nagy during that period is they had a lot of pressure to win now. They didn't have a lot of pressure to develop a quarterback, whoever that would have been. In this case, it was Justin Fields. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace were on the men to save their jobs versus getting a young quarterback developed. Now, the one thing that did happen that all season where it possibly could have been well was the addition of Andy Dalton. Now, Andy Dalton was a veteran quarterback. Andy Dalton, at this point of his career, when he was coming off of the Bengals years and he was coming off the Dallas Cowboys years where he was the backup and he started most of the season because of the Dak Prescott injury, he would have been a perfect person to really serve as a backup quarterback, a quarterback that maybe Justin Fields sits behind. He sits in a different offense versus the Matt Nagy offense, which proved not to really work. If they had Andy Dalton in a different offense and you let Justin Fields sit and develop, kind of like they did Patrick Mahomes, where they drafted him and let him sit for a year, and now we see what Patrick Mahomes can be. I think the pressure for Justin Fields to really succeed right away and the pressure for him to really win right away, I think was not a good situation for him. And I will be honest, Justin Fields was a quarterback that needed a little bit more time to really develop his skills, to really develop his arm as far as the accuracy and seeing the defense goes. And then on top of that, Andy Dalton gets hurt in week 2 against the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's really just thrown in there without sitting for much time, even though the preseason of him did look well. And then another thing I will contribute to the Fields experiment not working is that they fired Nagy, that they fired Pace, they brought Eberflus and Poles in. But with that first year in 2022, we really didn't see the Bears go out and get talent to really develop around Fields like they did now with the quarterback that is supposed to be in place in 2024. And that offseason, they really didn't grab much. Equanimeous St. Brown, who is a solid player, but he's not one of those game changers. Darnell Mooney was solid, but he's not a game changer. You still had David Montgomery in the backfield, which is a solid option running the football. But when you look at the Bears 2022 draft, instead of getting weapons and instead of getting things around Fields, despite them not having a number 1 draft pick in the first round, they still spent their picks on the defensive side of the ball when you look at Jaquan Brisker and when you look at Kyler Gordon. So the Bears in that 2022 offseason did, to be honest, a poor job of getting things around Justin Fields to help him develop. And then when we seen what that 2022 season looked like, it looked horrible. Whether it was Fields having to run for his life because the offensive line was not quality of pass protection, whether it was the defense looking so bad at times, we just did not see enough progression as far as Fields as a passer because of the lack of weapons and because of the lack of things to get around Justin Fields, even though the Bears had to get rid of some cap. But if they would have built some things on that offensive side of the ball for Luke Getsy, who was the new offensive coordinator coming into 2022, we possibly could have seen things different for the Bears. But 2023 all season, they did do some justice, which was getting DJ Moore and which was getting Darnell right at that right tackle position. But when you look at the inconsistency of the offensive line, whether it was Cody Whitehair, who was inconsistent, whether it was times that they had Ifedi, whether it was the times of 2021 where they had Jason Peters at 40 at left tackle, they had an ability to fail to build a solid offensive line despite them drafting Tevin Jenkins, and Tevin Jenkins coming into the league was coming into a back injury, so that wasn't necessarily great, even though Jenkins turned out to a good player. Now, it's just the fact of the Bears did not surround Justin Fields with pieces and with adequate weapons on a consistent basis to help him continue to grow as a football player. Because I am one that there is a thing that's called, you have to build a complete football team no matter who the quarterback is. And the Bears, to be honest, failed to do so. Whether it was the lack of weapons at wide receiver, whether it was an offensive system with Luke Getsy that really wasn't a system that really pushed the ball down the field on a consistent basis. And we're going to talk about him having the change of coordinators in year 1, changing offenses from year 1 to year 2. And when you think about a lot of quarterbacks, when you don't have consistency in your coaching staff, you don't have consistency in your front office, it is going to spell disaster if they don't come in and fix the things absolutely correctly. Now, I do place blame on the Bears, and like I said earlier, I do place blame on Justin Fields, even though he wasn't set up for success. At times, he just did not show at the highest points that
he was the quality quarterback. Even though I was one that was personally rooting for this to happen, I was one that was personally rooting for this to succeed. The main reasons that the Bears and Justin Fields' situation did not work was the quality of coaching that he did not have, the inconsistencies in both his game, in both the front office and the coaching staff with the Bears. And it was just not set up for either the Bears or Justin Fields to have any success. Now, the Bears did right a little bit of their wrongs by getting so many pieces this offseason. So it's interesting to see if this quarterback is going to work because they're handling things a lot different. But either way it goes, those are my thoughts on Justin Fields to the Bears not working. If you guys feel any different, if you agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to see them. But I'm APW Sports checking out. Make sure you guys have a great and excellent day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.